Hello and welcome to the TankSpot Order Raid Guide. My name is Eliana, and in this video I explain the strategy that we use for the 25-man version of One Light in the Darkness, the hard mode needed to complete Glory of the Older Raider. If you would like more information or would like to learn more about downloading this movie, click more info on the movie information box on YouTube to head directly to TankSpot. Also, be sure to subscribe by clicking the subscribe button to the right. You will be automatically notified as we release movies that way. Even more so than in its 10-man version, succeeding in this fight is mainly dependent on your raid's efficiency and synergy. As for raid composition, since this fight isn't very healing intensive, most guilds tend to bring 2 tanks, 4 healers, and 19 DPS. Especially while you're still learning this fight and your efficiency is lacking, you'll need a lot of DPS. In this particular video though, we're running with 1 tank and 5 healers. The fight mechanics remain the same compared to the normal fight, but with 3 keepers down, you lose many buffs that you may have gotten quite used to. For One Light, you'll still have Thorim assist you, but you'll have to make do without the remaining keepers. That means your raid loses the following buffs compared to normal mode. A 30% damage increase, 10% from each keeper, a 25% movement speed increase, a 20% increased healing buff, a 20% damage reduction, sanity welts, there are none at all. 100 sanity is all you have for the entire fight, and there will be no more ice team saves from Hodir. Additionally, all tentacles in Phase 2 attack twice as fast and cast 3 times as fast. Now, let's go over the various phases. In Phase 1, you have to kill 8 Guardians of Yogg-Saron near Sarah to bring your health to 0 and trigger Phase 2. As you can see here, we choose to dance through the clouds in Phase 1, since it eliminates a lot of unnecessary moving of the Guardians and chances to kill them too far away from Sarah. However, if your raid members are prone to touching clouds or wandering off by themselves into their own little world far away from any healer, you may instead choose to have your raid remain at the entrance of the room, and have your tank strike in a Guardian when it's low on health. Should you choose to dance, your range group needs to remain together as best as they can. You may want to designate a reliable leader that people can follow to avoid clouds. Also with that method, your melee need to run out before your Guardian dies, or they'll take a big damage hit that may or may not kill them. With either method though, you'll have to have reliable melee interrupters, because you want to reduce outgoing damage as much as you can. You don't have a lot of healers to deal with, so don't stress them too much. Should someone receive both Sarah's Fervor and Sarah's Blessing at the same time, make sure to pay close attention to their health. After Sarah transforms, Phase 2 is triggered. Kill all remaining Guardians on the phase change. For Phase 2, you have to split your raid into an upstairs and a downstairs team. The downstairs team will consist of 10 people that take the portals that periodically spawn around Yogg. 1 person downstairs should be a healer unless you're incredibly confident in your abilities. Melee as well as hunters are the most efficient as downstairs DPS. Both teams have to move together as units. This is crucial to success in this phase. The upstairs team should have your tanks, the remaining healers, and ranged DPS. Especially dot classes like Shadow Priest and Affliction Locks are incredibly valuable on tentacles. Your upstairs team should have the following priority system for the various tentacles that spawn. Constrictor tentacles before Crusher tentacles, before Corruptor tentacles. Freeing people from constrictors is always the #1 priority, and dot classes should be rolling their dots on any tentacle in range. You may choose to tank the Crusher tentacles for a little while to minimize the uptime of diminished power, but make sure your tanks get out in time before the Crusher's focused anger stacks too high. Make sure to watch out for death rays on the ground. They are not candy bars. From the time you see them popping up until they start actually damaging the ground, you have about 5 seconds. Also, you'll want to avoid chaining Malady of the Mind by moving away from the first person that gets targeted by it. The more sanity you have left for Phase 3, the better. Dispels, cleanses, and decurses are of utmost importance and will keep your healers upstairs more busy than the actual healing part will. You just can't afford to have a raid member take a chunk of extra damage or be impaired in their movement. The downstairs team should be assigned to specific portals ahead of time, with the exception of brain-linked people. They should just take the portal that's nearest to them to avoid damaging the other person more. They should also be assigned to specific areas in the memory rooms to kill the influence tentacles as quickly as possible. Ideally, you want to take no more than 25 seconds so you have plenty of time to damage the brain. Also, while the gate to the brain room is open, every tentacle upstairs is stunned, which means for the duration, there's no diminished power debuff, and your upstairs team should be able to clear out most, if not even all, of the tentacles before your downstairs team pops out of the brain room. The melee team has 30 seconds in between portal spawns that should be used to help out any close-by corruptor or constrictor tentacles, but do make sure that they're ready at their assigned portals before they spawn again. Efficient DPS in the memory rooms is key. You should aim to take Yogg to 30% in no more than 3 portal phases. It is doable in 4, but your upstairs team may get overwhelmed. The healer in the downstairs room should also help DPS the brain. Any DPS is better than none. Watch the Induced Madness timer closely. You can't afford to have melee team members go insane at all. As long as your upstairs DPS is able to keep up with tentacle spawns, you shouldn't have a problem triggering phase 3. Assign a meetup spot ahead of time so your melee team can walk straight over to the rest of your raid instead of having to look around for them. If you run with less than 2 tanks, set up Hunter misdirect rotations so initial aggro won't kill anyone. We kill the Immortal Guardians between the ranged group and Yogg himself. Usually we have melee assigned to them, since they can DPS their guardians while facing their back to Yogg. The ranged team, and mainly dot classes, build a brute force of DPS on Yogg himself in phase 3, but depending on whether DPS on either target is lacking, we may ask someone to help out temporarily. As per usual, have healers face away from Yogg at all times to avoid lunatic gaze altogether, and have everyone else watch their sanity closely. If a raid member is low on sanity, it's better to be safe than sorry. While you can do more DPS facing Yogg, you can't really do any when you go insane and get killed by your raid members. Not to mention you may do annoying things such as fear your raid members while mind controlled and have them take additional ticks of lunatic gaze. You really don't have to worry about empowering shadows much unless you're doing alone in the darkness. Just keep burning the guardians quickly as they trickle in and it shouldn't be a problem. Occasionally, Yogg will use Deafening Roar, which is a 2.3 second cast AoE ability that deals around 8,000 damage to every raid member and silences them for 4 seconds. Should you have a raid member reforging the legendary Mace Valanir, this is also your chance to throw in your Shattered Fragments. If you have a new Guardian coming in right before Deafening Roar, you may want to consider having your tank or healer use a cooldown to ensure that he doesn't die during the silence period. Huts are also very useful. As long as you keep your DPS split so that the Guardians die consistently and Yogg goes down steadily at the same time, this is a controlled phase that just requires good tank pickups and some communication. Thank you for watching this movie. As always, feel free to ask questions or add any suggestions either on YouTube or in the strategy thread on TankSpot.com. Also, TankSpot donors can download all of these movies in high definition directly from our servers, so if you'd like to learn more about that, just click the second link in the movie information box.